Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video Core Pick live stream for today, March 2nd, which is also Thursday. It's going to be a 4-game main slate today, but as we get into it, we'll be doing a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out, talking about the injuries in play for the 4-game slate overall, and then going over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talking about my core picks overall for today. If you are tuning in at this point in time and you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. If you're watching on replay, leave them down in the comments and I'll also get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, do note that you should make sure those questions are related to if they're more FanDuel or DraftKings related, I can't really talk right now, that if they are more towards one side or the other, be sure to note that as well so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. Now, the greatest day in the world. On the DraftKings side, we had John Morant at $9,900. Obviously, he was coming off a pretty big game. We were looking for 49.50 points down. Only got to 43.75. So he's a mess. He only ended up playing 27 minutes in this game as it was a blowout yesterday. So just kind of unfortunate there. It was something that we knew going into the slate that could happen, though, as well. Then at shooting guard, went with $3,300 Lonnie Walker. You're only looking for, 17 points at him. You got the 18.5, so he was a hit on the DraftKings side. Obviously, would like to be a little bit better out of him, but, still a little bit limited in terms of minutes yesterday after playing quite a few minutes the night before. And then at small forward, we had Gordon Hayward. He is $6,400, was looking for 32 points out of him. Got to 26.5, so he ended up being a mess yesterday. The biggest thing with him yesterday is he mainly just scored the ball. This team wasn't too efficient on offense either. So not a lot of rebounds or assists or anything else like that. So that's really what limited him overall. Then at power forward, ended up on Giannis by the time we got to lock. He was $12,300. We're looking for like 61 points out of him. He got to 50.75. So not a bad game overall, but in terms of raw points. But in terms of his price tag, not the greatest there. Obviously only played 28 minutes as that game was a blowout as well. Which, there was always the risk there going against Orlando. But, if Giannis and John Morant play normal minutes, then they both pay off at their price tags. And then last but not least, at the center position, probably my favorite play on the DraftKings side yesterday, Mitchell Robinson, who was $5,000, looking for 25 points down. He got a 32.5, so he was a really good hit yesterday, over 6 times the value. Then on the FanDuel side, we had John Morant once again, $10,000, looking for 50 points time. He got to 44.9, so he was a miss. Did mention already on the DraftKings side that the game was a blowout. At shooting guard, went to Lonnie Walker as well, $4,000. Got to 17.9. He was a miss. Not like the worst miss in the world, but just really wasn't what we were looking for out of him yesterday. Only played the 18 minutes, 2 for 7 shooting from the field. And, the night before we saw a lot more minutes out of him. So just kind of unfortunate there. Then a small forward ended up on Cameron Johnson, $5,600, looking for 28 points out. He got to 37.4. So he was a really good hit yesterday. Once again, at power forward, we had Giannis, and he was $11,800. So we were looking for, like 59 points out. Got to 48.4. He was a mess. Obviously, that game was a blowout once again. And then down at center position, studied on Xavier Tillman here at $5,300. So looking for 27 points out. Only got to 19.5. That game was a blowout once again. Played 27 minutes, 1 for 3 shooting from the field. Just didn't do a whole heck of a lot in the 27 minutes that he did play, which was really unfortunate overall for Tillman. So a little bit of hit or miss on yesterday's slate. Not the greatest. Wasn't my favorite slate overall. There was a lot of value that was kind of floating around over there. Sometimes one of those slates where there's too much value, especially if you don't get everything else right. It's just a harder slate overall. So with that being said, we're going to get off of the core picks from yesterday. We're going to get over into the injuries for today. Once again, it is a 4-game main slate. So kind of back to your traditional Thursday at this point in time. We have one game starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time. That is the Toronto Raptors and the Washington Wizards. The Raptors are all the way healthy at this point in time. And then for the Wizards, they're just without Monty Morris. So we do get Kristaps Porzingis back today. So that limits the upside of Washington just a little bit. But we could see DeLon Wright play a bigger role once again with no Monty Morris. And then for the 76ers, they are on the back-to-back, so we'll just have to monitor this throughout the day to make sure there is no additional news. But what we're looking at so far is Joel Embiid being questionable. He ended up missing last night's game. Obviously, if he doesn't play, You could get to some Paul Reed as a pay down option. You can get to some Tyrese Maxey. You can get to some James Harden. You can get to some Tobias Harrison. You could even get to D'Anthony Melton as a pay down option as well. And then it looks like Dwayne Dedmon probably out once again tonight. On the Dallas Mavericks side, just Davis Bertans out, so no real changes there. They did get Maxi Kleber back the last time. He was on a minutes limit, but he did play 24 minutes, so he is somebody you could consider a pay down option, especially on the DraftKings side today overall. And then then we get over to the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton is listed as questionable tonight, and this is going to be a big piece to tonight's slate. If he's unable to go, TJ McConnell would likely start in his place once again, and TJ McConnell would probably be the ultimate chalk on the slate in that case. And Tyrese Halliburton's dealing with a calf strain, so I think there's a pretty good chance that he does end up missing tonight. So McConnell's going to look pretty good on DraftKings. He's going to look pretty good on FanDuel if that's the case. I currently do not have him in my core picks, even though I do assume that Halliburton is out tonight. But if we get that news that Halliburton's out, he would initially become a core pick as well. Then we move over to the other side of the game, which is going to be another important spot with the San Antonio Spurs. We got Kem Birch, Romeo Langford, and Isaiah Roby all out once again. And then we do have a lot of Q tags here, a lot of questionable guys. So Trey Jones missed 9 out of the past 10 games with a foot injury. He's listed as questionable. I kind of assume that he's just out once again tonight, unless we get news otherwise. And then we have Keldon Johnson. He's dealing with his own little foot injury now, so he's questionable. We'll see if he plays or not. Malachi Brandon left last time's game with, I believe, a hip injury, so he's questionable. I assume that he's not going to play tonight as well. And then they do get the return of Devin Vassell tonight. Probably going to be on some type of minutes limit, so not really too interesting from a DFS perspective. So this Spurs team could open up a ton of value, especially if we get Trey Jones and Brandon out, who would be the two most likely ones out, in my personal opinion, which would open up some Devontae Graham. If Keldon Johnson also misses, we could be looking at Ketta Bates-Diop. We could look at some Doug McDermott as well today. And last but not least, we move down to the Clippers and the Warriors. The Clippers are appearing to be all the way healthy at this point in time. We'll see if anything else changes throughout that day with them. And then for the Warriors, we got Steph Curry, Andre Iguodala, Gary Payton II, and Andrew Wiggins all out once again. So no major changes there. Jordan Poole is listed as probable to play tonight. So if something does change for his status throughout the day, I will update that down in the comments. But that's pretty much what we're looking at in terms of injuries so far for today. As I typically do, I like to do a little quick recap of the ones that we're really paying attention to. So Joel Embiid is going to be a big one. And then Tyrese Halliburton obviously is another big one. And then just that Spurs news overall. Pretty simple in terms of injuries for today, but that Spurs and Pacers game could have a big impact overall. But with that being said, we're going to get off of these injuries. We're going to go over to DraftKings and talk about the core picks that I do have, at least initially, for today's slate. Obviously, there's a lot that could change throughout the day, especially with that Spurs news. So at this point in time, at point guard, I do have Devontae Graham listed there. He's $4,400. We're looking for 22.7. Currently, I'm projected for 24, 25 points tonight. Going against the Pacers, it's a pace-up spot. I don't expect Trey Jones to play once again. I really expect Malachi Brandon to miss as well. So that would kind of leave Devontae Graham in that starting lineup, playing some pretty big minutes tonight. Blake Wesley probably playing the point guard spot behind him, who could potentially be a pay down option in his own right in that situation. Really just depends on who's actually available for the Spurs tonight. But I do like Devontae Graham once again quite a bit. Then at shooting guard, we got Bradley Beal here. I liked him a little bit better if Kristaps Porzingis was going to miss once again today, but he is supposed to be back. So Bradley Beal at $8,000. Don't mind the price tag, $4,000. There is no Monte Morris, so he might take over some extra ball handling duties. Delon Wright's there. He's fine, but I think Bradley Beal takes that extra step up once again. Currently looking for 40 points. Currently having projected for 42 points tonight. He's a pick that could change throughout the day too, as well as we get some other news. And then at small forward, this is a guy that I really, really just don't like, but at $3,400, we're looking for some value pieces at this point in time. Jordan Nwora projects out all right. You're looking for 17 points out. Got projected for 18, 19 today. He's been playing bigger minutes with the Pacers, bringing this up the last couple games. He's been kind of getting some of those Nesmith minutes, so he's been good as of late. But he's a guy that is super, super dependent on scoring. So if he changes throughout the day, don't be surprised. I do like getting to some Doug McDermott if he opens up with the Spurs, who's a very similar price tag as well. And then at power forward, we went Jeremy Sohan, the guy that is on the thumbnail for today, $5,300. If a lot of these Spurs guys are out once again tonight, he's going to look really good. But at this point in time, you're looking for 26, 27 points. Currently I'm projected for about 27, 28 tonight. He's been getting about a fantasy point per minute as of late. So assume that trend does continue once again tonight. And then if all these other guys are missing, he's going to have to take that extra step up as well. And then last but not least, we got a former San Antonio Spur and Jakob Poeltl at $6,200. We're looking for 31 points out. He's going against Washington tonight against Daniel Gafford. Should be a decent matchup for him overall. And I currently have him projected for 32 points. That's what he's averaging on the season. But since he's been with Toronto, we've seen some pretty big high upside games out of him as well. So there is a lot of room for more as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $22,700 remaining, just under $7,600 per player. So a lot of room and flexibility just depending on who you want to pay up for. There's really just the 2 guys at the top, and Luka Doncic and Joel Embiid if he does end up playing today. Don't have a problem getting to either of those guys. If you want to mix and match some of these other guys in there as well, we still have James Harden, we still have Kyrie Irving, we still have Kawhi Leonard, we still have Paul George, Pascal Siakam up there as well as kind of pricier guys, but not at the ultra elite superstar level. But with that being said, we're going to get off of DraftKings at this point in time, move over to FanDuel and talk about the core picks over there as well. As always, the pricing is a little bit different, so some of these picks are going to be different from site to site, and these picks are very much subject to change, especially since we don't have all the news at this point in time. So at the point guard position on the FanDuel side, going with Jordan Poole at $7,600. Looking for 38 points out. Currently I'm projected for 38. Obviously, he's kind of been up and down as of late, but the last game was a little bit better going against Clippers tonight. Should be a pretty competitive game as long as that injury doesn't hamper him too much. Going to look like a decent play at the point guard position. At shooting guard, I ultimately ended up on Buddy Hield. I didn't like a ton of shooting guard options on the FanDuel side. And Buddy Hield's kind of been struggling as of late, but this should be a pretty good high-paced game overall. If Tyrese Haliburton doesn't play, you should get a couple extra opportunities as well. So do like him quite a bit tonight. You're looking for 29, 30 points out. I'm currently having projected for 29. He's averaging almost 30 on the season as well. And then at small forward, went with Jonathan Kuminga at $4,500. You're looking for 22, 23 points out. Got him projected for 22 tonight. Small forward. Not a lot of guys that are projecting right around 5X at this point in time, but he is kind of one of them. If somebody else misses for Golden State, he could get an extra opportunity as well. Then at power forward, we're going right back to Jeremy Sohan at $5,400. Once again, Spurs really banged up. High-paced matchup here overall. If some of those guys end up missing, he's going to take a bigger jump up once again. You're looking... Excuse me, you're looking for 27 points out. Currently, I'm projected for 27, 28. A guy that can do just a little bit of everything too as well. So that definitely won't hurt him at all on the FanDuel side. And then last but not least, at the center position, there's a lot of different ways you can go. If Joel Embiid's good to go, I probably end up playing him on FanDuel if I'm being completely honest. But at this point in time, I have Ivica Zubac, who came back from a little bit of his own injury himself. There is a lot of risk with him too. He could lose some minutes to Mason Plumlee. He could lose some minutes to some small ball against Golden State. But a decent pace-up matchup, he does have some opportunity to get some extra rebounds going against Golden State as well. So he's a guy that does offer a really good upside on tonight's slate. There's not a lot of centers that project out too well, but you can also consider Joel Embiid. As I mentioned, if Joel Embiid doesn't play, you could pay down for Paul Reed as well, and he could be an interesting option as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I currently have listed as the core plays on the FanDuel side, you have $30,600 remaining, just over $7,600 per player. So definitely a lot of room and opportunities to pay up, whether you'd want to throw Joel Embiid in that center position, whether you want to play a Luka Doncic or someone else as well. But with that being said, that's kind of what I have in terms of core picks for today for both DraftKings and FanDuel. I know it's a smaller slate, a 4-game slate. Might be not as much interest in this slate overall. Should be a pretty interesting one though. But as always, I'll keep the updates down in the comments throughout the day in terms of injuries, as well as the starting lineups. Unfortunately, was not able to get to as many starting lineups last night. Just had a interview going on with the NFL draft pick, with NFL draft prospect Kevin Hyde out of Slippery Rock. Rolled over in that, rolled into some dinner and everything else like that. So just didn't get quite a chance to get to the early games, at least for that. But was a very interesting slate overall. I think tonight will be very interesting, and hopefully we get a lot of that news sooner rather than later. And then, as always, if you guys have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave it down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. As I mentioned earlier, Please note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll have my updated core about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock or as those updates do become available. But with that being said, that's really what I have for today's video, for today's live stream. If you're brand new to the channel, haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS, primarily NBA and XFL DFS at this point in time, but we'll have baseball coming right around this corner with MLB. We'll have some USFL coming right around the corner as well. And then in terms of prize picks too, I'm just going to throw the banner up here too. If you're brand new to prize picks, use this code. It'll get you a first match deposit. It'll help you out a little bit, help me out a little bit as well. And be sure to check out my Twitter, Coach Craig Sport, for prize picks on the daily, Monday through Friday. Or I don't post them every single day, but a lot of times I do for NBA, some for XFL as well. So definitely be sure to checking those out. Had 4 fantasy point ones yesterday. 3 of them hit. Unfortunately, Nick Claxton did not, but that's why we flex. Put them out there as a floor pack. You flex it, you still got 1.5 times return on your value there as well. But once again, that's pretty much what I do have at this point in time. If anybody does have any last minute questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. But do appreciate everybody that did take the time out of their day to tune in this stream. Definitely appreciate it. Definitely means a lot to me. And I hope that each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.